This video will serve as a refresher and a recap for Ecosystems Lessons 1 and 2. The questions we were trying to answer for this unit is what explains why the population of buffalo in the Serengeti changed so much? The objectives that we were covering for these first two lessons were that students can ask questions to figure out why the buffalo population changed so much in a relatively short period of time, as well as to explain what buffalo eat and if this caused the increase in their population. We began our investigation with some location information. So this unit is going to focus on Serengeti National Park, which is located in Africa. So we looked at that in Google and we saw that Serengeti National Park is located in Tanzania, which is on the central east coast of Africa. This graph represents the population size of the African buffalo in the Serengeti from 1960 to 2000. We are going to focus for the first part of this unit on the first half of this graph from 1960 to 1975. And we just made some observations about what we noticed about the population graph. Primarily, we observed that the population changes pretty drastically from about 30,000 buffalo to about 80,000 buffalo in only about 15 years, which is a pretty big change in a pretty short amount of time when it comes to ecosystem changes. So we realized we didn't really know much else about what was in the Serengeti. We had some ideas, but we weren't exactly sure. So we watched a video and we looked at some map data and we made some conclusions about the location of Serengeti in that it's probably pretty warm there because it's close to the equator. And then we looked at some camera trap data just to see the wide range of organisms that live here. And we looked at some pictures because, wow, some of those things we have never even heard of or we've only seen in a zoo and we don't really know what we were talking about. And there's a wide range of living things in Serengeti National Park. So these are some of those things that we saw. And then we did a short reading to get a little bit more information about the Serengeti Plain, primarily its climate, what lives there, and some behaviors of specifically the buffalo. So at that point, we decided to create initial models to just get our ideas on paper for what we thought was happening, what our ideas were for why we thought the buffalo population changed so much in such a short period of time. And we used our questions from drawing those initial models to build our driving questions board. At the end of this, we decided that we were going to start with what do buffalo eat as our first investigation, because we thought that maybe there was more food available to them. And so we thought that maybe if they had more food, then that could have caused the population to increase. But we didn't really even know what they ate. So we started with lesson 2, which is what do buffalo eat and was there more of it? We made predictions about what we thought that graph might look like. If there's more food, then what does that graph look like in comparison to a growing buffalo population? We jigsawed some readings, and basically what we saw from those readings was that buffalo eat plants such as shrubs, grasses, trees, and sedges. And buffalo compete for these foods with wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle, but only during the dry season, because during the wet season, the wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle migrate and the buffalo don't, so they don't have to compete with those wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle, those Thompson's gazelle, because they have migrated away during the wet season. And then we realized that there isn't any data on exactly how much grass is in the Serengeti. No one's counting blades of grass. And so we learned about this idea of biomass and how that data might not be available to us, but we know that climate and specifically precipitation would be directly linked to how much food was available to the buffalo. So we decided to define biomass and then to look at if there were any significant changes in the climate for Serengeti during this time to see if maybe that was causing the change in the buffalo population. So that's it. That's where we ended lesson 2, and we're going to start lesson 3 looking at